Hello, hello, Trevor, Paul. Nice to see you. Glad you're here already. I'm still laughing because I had a snafu right before we started. Trevor, you might get a kick out of this. I was going to hit the intro and I accidentally hit the outro, and then instead of hitting it again to stop it, I hit the X and deleted it, so I had to re-upload it real quick. So there's Amber. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. Anybody else that pops in that joins us, please say hi in the chat. That's the best way for us to know that you are here. And y'all, Jen and I were just talking, like she is definitely up for, as I am always up for, addressing questions, comments. So if you guys have anything that you're curious about during the conversation, please throw it in there. I'll get it up there and we'll talk about it. Jen, thank you. Welcome. It is good to have you here on Tilted Bench. For anybody who doesn't know, and I think most of us here do know, Tilted Bench is a weekly show that I do about coaching. We interview professional coaches, talk about what kind of coaching they do, how it works, why it works, what's important about it. Today, Jen is going to talk to us. Jen, why don't you start us off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what you do?
Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever time it is for those of you who are joining us live. My name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. If you're up for a challenge, you can try to say my last name 3 times fast, but that's okay if you can't. You can replay this live stream too. I'm a certified holistic coach who also is a professional speaker since 2010. And it is a good morning or a good day anytime I can talk about coaching. So thank you so much for having me here, Nathan.
Glad you're here. I see Laura's come in. Hunter's here. Hi, you guys. Glad you're here. We've got for our, Jen, can you tell us also who is your kind of ideal client? Is there a specific group, specific people that you're looking to work with or that you usually do work with?
Yes, I'm a coach who loves working with other coaches, having been in the industry for quite a long while now and seeing some less than wonderful practices in the coaching industry. I serve other coaches. I also serve consultants, though. So if you are someone who is freelancing and doing project-based work, or authors, I love working with authors who just released their book because public speaking is a great way to get your book launched properly and sell it to more than just your mom and your cousin. So I serve anyone who is wanting to build their business, their message, their passion through the magic of public speaking.
I didn't know that you worked with authors too. I mean, that's such a neat kind of niche to focus on. I imagine it's a pretty big shift to spend all that time writing and communicating through the written word and then to transfer over to the spoken word. We had Donna on last week talking about writers and talking about coaching writers. So it's kind of perfect timing that you're coming right after that. I didn't realize we had this timing so well sorted out. I mean, it was planned all along. Obviously, right?
It was totally planned. And Donna and I know each other. We've connected before on LinkedIn as well. So it's nice that the synchronicity is there.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I think that's a good jumping point for us to go ahead and start in on this this title that we've got here, because you want to talk to us about speaking confidently and doing that in the midst of those feelings that I know a lot of us struggle with, of feeling like an imposter. So what would you like to tell us about that?
All right. So feeling like an imposter. This is a very common phrase that's used nowadays, and it's used in every sort of context, whether it's your ability to lead, your ability to be a good parent, your ability to advance your career. Imposter syndrome is used a lot. Unfortunately, I hear it used more in women's circles than I hear it used in men's circles, but certainly it's something that everyone can resonate with on some level. It reminds me of a game that my daughters play. They play this game called, I think it's Among Us, and they will shout out in the middle of their game, "I am the imposter." So even these games that kids are playing these days are tapping into this idea of being an imposter. If you resonate with feeling like I'm the imposter, let us know in the comments here, because I certainly am not exempt from this. Just because I'm on stages speaking all the time doesn't mean that I don't feel like an imposter. But when we look at what that means, like what is the context behind feeling like an imposter, regardless of what context you're using for that? And to me, I like to liken it to this idea of being a fraud. And I bring that up because I used to be a certified fraud analyst, which means that in my financial service job, which I worked for 15 years, I would investigate both internal and external employees of the companies I worked with to see whether they were causing misrepresentation and financial loss to our company. As you can imagine, these fraudsters, as we called them, had some motivation behind what they were doing. They were insiders, and we were trying to protect our company from the risk of that financial loss, sometimes to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. I mean, I worked for Fortune 500 companies. Whether that's your situation or not, I want to encourage you to shift this idea of I'm the imposter to something a little friendlier and something a little more accurate. You're an insider. What does it mean to be an insider? Nobody has the same perspective on the work that you do as you. You are not an imposter. You are an insider. So if you don't like the term expert, which is often used in many circles, it's okay. Call yourself an insider because you are inside of a certain industry. You are inside of the work of parenting. You are inside of a relationship. That cannot be argued. And that's not going to cause a challenge in your mindset in terms of, oh, I'm not an imposter. I am an insider because I'm doing this work. I'm showing up every day and it's important to me. So that's a small shift that I would encourage our listeners to think about.
Amber put this comment in there, and I think wondering if we're in the right place is a big part of what's going on there. For a lot of us, I think we're a little concerned about that word expert that you mentioned, because it can seem overbearing, right? And we don't want to come across as overbearing, overconfident. But so then we can kind of back off too much and we end up being underconfident. Do you find when you work with people that that's a pretty common tension you run into?
Very much, very much. And thank you, Amber, for being vulnerable and sharing here. We do appreciate it. Often what comes up, and I work with a lot of clients who struggle with imposter syndrome. Some of them have been in their business for years and are known experts who've been hired to do that work by high level people. So they're already doing the work. That doesn't mean that you're going to feel like you're an expert. So I love that you brought that up as a question. And Amber, I would ask you to take a look at your sentence there. So many great writers are out there. Well, yeah, and you are one of them. It can be difficult for us to praise ourselves. Often we wait for other people to praise us before we praise ourselves. But what are you waiting for? I mean, honestly, you can feel uncertain on your quality or skill level, but those are things that you can work on, because confidence is not a mindset. Confidence is a muscle. And the only way you improve your musculature is by putting in the practice and rehearsing. You don't get like huge biceps from lifting 10 minutes one time a day. You do it through dedicated, consistent effort over time. And the same is true for your confidence levels.
I like that connection to it being actual work, right? Like we do talk about confidence sometimes as a switch. Like you just have to be more confident. You know, people throw that just in there like it's something easy, right? Do you think that there are specific exercises that are more helpful than others when it comes to building that muscle?
That's a great question. One of the things that I found really helpful. So when I started as a speaker, not many people know, but I used to be a health and wellness speaker. So my personal story, what brought me to the stage, my signature speech, was losing 100 pounds in 1 year and the steps and process I took to get there. So I was going off of my own personal story, talk about feeling like an imposter, because my success story, my after photo, was still medically obese. So I was on stage with, fitness enthusiasts who had six-pack abs, who, were looking amazing, who were leading big empires, who were personal trainers. I didn't have that experience. I'm not medical. I didn't have that background. So my picture of success didn't necessarily look like other people's picture of success. So what got me comfortable with sharing the stage with other people who maybe I perceive to be fitter, better, more healthy than myself, was to lean into what I knew to be true. And what I knew to be true was I'm a very good speaker. I've had lots of experience with speaking. I put in the reps. So that's part of it, is the practice, the rehearsal. Who are you rehearsing in front of? And we'll talk a little bit about this because it gets more into the rehearsal piece. You can rehearse the same presentation to your stuffed animals, to your colleagues, to your friends, and still not feel good about it. So there's good rehearsal and there's bad rehearsal, but make sure you put yourself out there. You share that experience, not just once, not just twice, but up to hundreds of times until it feels so certain within your bones that there's no denying it. Because when you come to the stage, whether it's virtual or not, from a place of certainty, your audience will feel that energy. They will hear that energy. And so you don't have to go up there saying, I'm the best there is. You don't have to be all Muhammad Ali about it. But when you stand up there, you're grounded, you're confident, you're certain in your expertise and your insider information. Your audience will resonate with that energy that you put out. And that's the best place to be.
I'm going to put this back up, what Jeremiah said about confidence being competence, that a lot of this is there's a temptation to want perfection, right? To want to be the expert. You find yourself on stage, you find yourself on a platform like LinkedIn surrounded by other people, and you want to judge yourself against them rather than thinking about what you're actually good at as you and what you should be good at as you. You know, we shouldn't be trying to be other people. One of the themes that kind of comes up repeatedly here on Tilted Bench is this idea of how important it is to know who you are, to understand yourself, to understand your own story, and to stay grounded in that. Is that my suspicion is that that is very much what's at the root of the feelings of being an imposter. What do you think about that?
Yes. And I'd like to address something in there because it's a common myth. And I see it a lot. I follow a lot of other content creators on speaking and presentation skills and things like that. And I want to debunk something, if that's okay, something that comes
Yeah.
up a lot. A lot of people say, here's how you get started as a speaker. You find 3 speakers that you really appreciate, you really love, and you kind of copy them or mimic them or determine what you really like about what they're doing or try to figure out their process. Please don't do that. I'm a speaker who's telling you not to listen to other speakers, and here's why. That is not authentic to you. That is authentic to them. If they have like a template, a download, a freebie, which is something I offer as a free gift as well, we'll talk about that later. It's called a signature speech template. If they have a template or something you can use to put your unique self and your unique insider perspective into your story, then use that. But you're not boilerplating or carbon copying some other speaker's style, delivery, word choice. Those are all unique to you. And that's how you show up authentically, is by using what's unique to you and putting it into a format that makes sense for you. Now, there is a format that works when it comes to delivering a signature speech, and it's not the format you would expect. But the important thing to know is it's about what stories you're telling within that format. So yes, you can listen to other speakers for things you maybe want to take a stand on, don't want to take a stand on. That's okay. But what's more important is you practicing and rehearsing what feels right for you. Because if you're uncomfortable with what you're doing or practicing or attempting to do as a speaker, that also will go to your audience and will give them a different sort of feeling from what you're trying to present. And some people are afraid to be inauthentic. There's literally no way you can be inauthentic at all, unless you're not prepared. And that's a different situation.
Which goes to Jeremiah saying, prepare, prepare, prepare. There's a lot of what happens on LinkedIn that's about those who offer services, those who have the ability out of experience to kind of be able to guide other folks of saying, you know, steal my this, steal my that. Here's how you do X, Y, Z. I do like that. I've heard, I think it was Jenn Espinosa-Goswami once, who said that a better way to talk about that, instead of saying, here's what you need to do, can be to say, here's what I do. And we have to remember that anyone we're looking at, whether they're a speaking coach or any other kind of coach or consultant on LinkedIn, is that that's what's working for them. When you work with your clients, do you find you have to spend a pretty fair amount of time working with them, making sure they're in touch with themselves? How do you approach that?
Oh, I love this question. So I work with a lot of transformational coaches. So coaches in the spiritual realm, coaches who do home organization, coaches in the heart-centered leadership space. I love it all. And I work with a lot of authors as well who come from a very intuitive, empathic type of background. I want them to do more of what they're good at. So when I'm evaluating someone's presentation, and I do that as part of coaching, but I take it from a coaching perspective. I'm not saying try this, try that, do this, do that. Instead, I'm saying, as an audience member, if I'm sitting here and listening to you, here's what I received from what you just presented to me. Is that what you want them to receive? And so I approach it from a coaching perspective. I'm going to say, yeah, you could try this, or this may appear this way. Or if I sense a disconnect between what this person is presenting as part of their brand. For example, if someone says, I really love pizza, and they never once talk about pizza, or they even say something negative about pizza, or have a story about Pizza Hut or something like that. Like, I might have them reflect, is that what you wanted to present as part of your overall brand through this story or through this message? Is that something that, if a company is hiring you to speak in front of their executives, is that something that would go well? You know, you can use case studies. That's a great idea, but also being sensitive to what's present in the room. And sometimes that's an advanced skill, is to flex and adapt in the moment. But the more practiced and rehearsed you are, and the more you lean into your inner strength as a speaker, we all have strengths as speakers. Maybe you're not good at impromptu off the cuff, so don't do live streams. Maybe you're not good at how to or educational, don't do workshops. Maybe you're super excitable and you get the energy going and people just like are attracted to your energy. Then keynote speaking is for you. So I help my clients identify, okay, what is your ideal type of speaking engagement? And maybe it's not these other things, but guess what? There's a whole bunch of other things you can learn to do. And I'm happy to walk that path with you.
That brings us again to this other theme in coaching that we keep talking about on the show, about mirroring and how important it is to have a coach, because coaches are going to see things that you can't see in your own way of doing about things. And Brian Berman even said in the conversation that we were having, that sometimes we just flat out lie to ourselves, oh, I love pizza. I love pizza. No, you don't. Do you really love pizza? But we've somehow gotten convinced that this is what we ought to think. And so we start thinking that, which is why it's important to do something that you were just saying, to point out to folks what you shouldn't be doing. I like that you've got some don't do's in there, because I think a lot of people can get distracted about just trying to add more onto the plate rather than trimming it down and getting some things off of the plate.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I think you're pretty rad too.
That's what we do here. We just get rad people around to have rad conversations and then get rad comments from other rad people.
We see you, people. We see you.
I keep my eyes keep drifting over to this one from Jill about stumbling upon a block and how blocks can cause the imposter feeling. What do you think about those blocks? I think this is more of that mirroring, right? That sometimes if you are going along trying to do something, you may not even see what's blocking you.
Let me share a short little story about my daughter when she was learning how to ride a bike. She was older than most kids usually start riding bikes. I learned when I was like 3 or 4, but she was like 8 or 9. And it was her first time trying to ride a adult size bike. So she had never done the training wheel types of bikes and things like that. So it was a very scary experience for her. I did what my dad taught me to do, is put your hand on the back of the bike seat to keep her balanced. So I was keeping her balanced. I was helping her keep herself upright. And all she had to do was pedal. Now she got into her head and tilted the bike in such a way that she almost fell down and got hurt. Luckily, she didn't get hurt. Why I share that story is because as a coach, my job is to be there to help you keep your balance, to anchor you to your presentation. But it's up to you to push the pedals. It's up to you to believe that you are stable, secure, and ready to take that next step, whatever that looks like for you. So I will be there. I will be slightly behind you, because you are the one who has to be leading the process. And so it's important to understand that when you're trying things out, experiment. It might be the first time you do it. You might fall. You might even get hurt when you fall. I mean, trolls are a thing, right? If you're going live anywhere on the internet, you're gonna get trolled. In fact, some people celebrate that because they're like, yay, I got my first troll today, because people are listening to you, right? And sometimes that's what matters in the moment. But I think it's also good to celebrate what didn't go so well, because you're like, okay, oh gosh, I messed up on that live stream. It was the worst thing ever, but it was kind of funny. And maybe turn it into an experience that you can learn from, as long as you're not completely down in the dumps about it. Give yourself some time to process that. Not all blocks or challenges are like things that you want to sit into for too long. And that's why coaching is a great forum for you to improve your presentation skills, because I'm not teaching you or training you. I'm also understanding that you have a very comprehensive, holistic life, and other things in your life will impact how you show up and present. So I understand that, and I can flex with that accordingly. But understand that we're all going to mess up. I messed up last week doing an interview on a radio show. I completely messed up. And at this point in my life, I'm like, it's okay. You know, there's another interview coming up. There's another opportunity coming up. And sometimes I've received this feedback from listeners. Sometimes it's when you mess up that you're creating that human moment of connection with your listeners and your audience. I've had people reach out to me and say, yeah, you know, when that happened, that's when I really knew that you were the person I wanted to work with. Or that's when I knew that you were the right coach for me, because you're not afraid to laugh at yourself. You're not afraid to mention that thing that went horribly wrong. It happens. It will happen. And even if it doesn't feel good in the moment, it's not always going to feel bad. Just let it go.
When you were talking about the bicycle riding, I couldn't help but thinking about something that I see in my own little family life. I have 3 small daughters, and they've been learning to swim, trying to, right? So we've been in the pool, and there was this moment yesterday where the 5-year-old, she's about to be 6 this weekend, but she jumps in down here on the deep end, like in the 5-foot deep. So I'm standing down there, and like takes off trying to go across. And there's this part of me as parent that like wants to be really protective. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this water is too deep for you. I can't believe you just jumped in here. But then I like, took a breath and kind of stepped back and stayed next to her. But like she made it all the way across. I was so proud of her. And I think that's part of what you've got to do there as the coach, right? Is that kind of stay hands off a little bit. And when you were saying that thing about that, you're the expert on your own path. You're the one that has to figure that out. When you as coach say that, you're kind of reflecting back to them your own belief that they are the insider, right? Like you're reinforcing you are the insider for your own path, and you are the one who has the ability to see that and get it done. We've got about 6 minutes left, Jenn, and I think there were a few other things that you wanted to circle around to. Do you want to hit any of those while we're here?
Yeah, I thought it would be helpful to talk about the difference between coaching versus coaching presentation skills versus like training on it, because I know there are a lot of courses out there, and I see those courses. Some of my friends teach those courses. Even some of those courses are on LinkedIn and some of the other places we're streaming to. It's great to learn and to dive into personal development. I'm a personal development junkie. I read all the time. The only thing I digest faster than food is books. So I get it. I understand the desire to grab and read and digest more things and learn through courses and certificates. I mean, I'm a certified coach, and I've been certified in other things. I have a master's degree. So I understand the love for learning. It's my top strength. Coaching allows you to actually do the thing that you want to do. I step back and let you do what you need to do. And so how that's a benefit when it comes to presentation skills and public speaking is you are allowed to be who you are, for one. It is completely customized to what you need when you need it. Whereas if you're doing a self-paced course, you do the thing, you do the homework, and you move on. But what happens after that? Do you know how to take the step after that? And coaching is a process. So you learn the process through the coaching container, and then you can go and ride that bike from that day forward. If the coach, supported you in the right way, there's a process that they follow. And same with when I'm helping you find speaking engagements, there's a process you follow. And sometimes that process is 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I mean, some speaking engagements are 2 years out. Are you ready to follow that process, or are you going to get discouraged when you fall down the first time you get on that bike and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, this sucks, I'm an imposter. You don't have to get into that mindset, especially if you're a person who really enjoys accountability. Yeah, I can get you clarity, I can get you confidence, I can get you consistency. That's what I do as a coach. But what's most important for you is to feel competent in what you're doing, and to know that it's based on your skill set and not something that you absorbed or digested from someone else. It's all there inside of you. I just help you bring it out. So that's the funnest part about coaching.
You mentioned the time frame. Hey, Amara, and thanks, Aya. And Jill. This is a great conversation. I'm loving it too. Um, you mentioned the time frame, Jen. That like some of these things are coming up within a month or two or a couple of weeks, but then you also have things that are a much longer time scale. I know, Sam, if you're still there, if we were talking the other day about folks who want to do TED Talks, right? Like if you're interested in doing a TED Talk, that can be a several years long process. And when you're working on that, you have to have this kind of long term, bigger vision. And there's a lot of patience that's required. Do you find that confidence and patience go hand in hand pretty readily?
I wish they did, Nathan. I'm not a terribly patient person.
I'm not either. This is for me too, right?
This is something that the coach needs to learn, right? So yeah, patience is a part of the process, just because when you're dealing with relationships, and that's all, pitching your speaking programs is, it's building relationships with people who are not coaching clients. And so that has its own unique place in the overall run of your business. Connecting with people who are looking for podcast guests, who are looking for keynote speakers, who are looking for workshop presenters. That process tends to be a long process, and you have to understand from that person's perspective that you're coordinating with. They receive hundreds, if not thousands, of communications and pitches from all sorts of speakers. So anytime you can make their job easier for them, you are an immediate resource that they will come to rely upon. I had one speaking engagement I did back in March this year. I had been nurturing that relationship for 2 years. 2 years. And it's great. And they have given me some insider information in terms of the next time I can apply my programs for the following year, the conference that's coming up. So I'm in the loop, in the communication loop with them. So it's important to understand that the speaking season may not align entirely with yours, or how to make it work within whatever your coaching business schedule looks like. I usually speak a few times every month, whether it's podcasts or shows or a keynote presentation or workshop. I do that a few times every month. Well, that means I have to at least apply to 10 to 15 different opportunities per month. But the good news is, between June and August, speaking usually slows down, which is why I'm offering some learning opportunities this summer for my clients, because speaking is usually pretty less right now. And even TED Talks out there, you could book a TED Talk today and not present until 2024, maybe May 2024. Some of them are out really far in advance. And sometimes you have to submit your application multiple times. So that's the piece of the patience that you talked about. But more importantly than the patience thing is understanding that you're never bothering someone when you reach out. You are reaching out. And that's a really hard lesson to learn, especially when you've contacted someone 4, 5, 6 times and you're like, why didn't they respond to me? That is very common when it comes to speaking engagements. So understand that you are a resource. You're not an imposter. You're an insider, and you have something of value to provide to someone else. And understand that they're super busy. So if they don't get back to you, it doesn't mean they don't like you or that you're not a perfect fit for them. It just means that you need to keep that relationship going and offer them just value, even today, like send an article of interest to them, comment on their last conference, notice something they're sharing within their company or organization. You can do these things and keep top of mind without being really pushy and pitching them all the time.
Oh, I love it. So we're about out of time here. Jenn, let everybody know, what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can come to my website, weightlesschronicles.com. And I'm offering a special opportunity during the summertime. It's kind of a coaching based opportunity where I help you on your presentation skills. I don't traditionally offer this because I work in 4-month containers or 8-month containers with my coaching clients. But if you already have a presentation coming up and you're like, I really want to get great at this, I want to do the practice, I want to do the rehearsal, I want to get feedback from a professional speaker, then this might be an opportunity you're interested in. So I'll share more about that in the comments below. You can start this month. We start on Friday, so it's pretty quick turnaround time, but you can start in July or August as well. And I've made it affordable. I've made it an option in case you have travel plans coming up that you can come for just 3 sessions or for the rest of the summer, and you will receive guaranteed coaching time with me on both your delivery of your presentation and your written presentation. So even if you're just in the writing phase, I would be able to support you. But yeah, happy to connect with you. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn and we are not connected quite yet, let's connect. This is my favorite water cooler to hang out by.
Awesome. It's my favorite water cooler too. Jen, the last thing, I'm going to let you have the whole screen. I'm going to step out, so to speak, and leave us, kind of one last kind of final takeaway. You've given us a lot of fantastic nuggets. I'm going to be greedy and ask for one more. And then I'll come back in and we'll say bye.
Well, first of all, I just want to thank all of you who've joined us. Samantha, Jill, Amara, Aya, so many great conversations. Jeremiah, thank you so much for watching this show and learning more about how to be confident and speak confidently, even when you feel like an imposter. It's okay to feel like an imposter. It's okay to stumble and fall. And I'm here to tell you that as a coach who works with other coaches, there's not a single coach I have connected with who does not have a stage out there for them. So if you have it on your heart to find a stage to speak on, whether it's to share that invitation to your amazing coaching work or to sell a book or to get to that next level, maybe you want to show your thought leadership in your space, public speaking will change your life and change your business. And there is a stage for everyone. So the only way you're going to get more confident on getting yourself out there is to start putting yourself out there. So this is my invitation to you to get confident by taking action. And that first step is reaching out to me and or learning how to connect onto your next stage. My name is Jen, and I would love to help you get to that next stage, whatever that stage looks like for you. Don't be afraid to grab that microphone. Back to you, Nathan.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jen. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, it's great to see all of you in the comments. Jen, thank you so much for taking the time. And everybody, I hope we will see you again next week. Have a good Wednesday.